There we go. Now it doesn't look like I'm ascending into heaven on both sides, just this one. There we go. That's solid enough. Welcome. Hello, hello. I promise I don't have this bad a posture. I'm on a recliner. My chin doesn't have this many rolls usually. Has quite a few, but not this many. But it is here. The long-awaited, the long-mentioned, and the long-worked-on, I guess, NBA Draft Big Board. Now, it is 11:16 at night here. We are well past the late withdrawal period, so I say that just to say I don't know of any injuries yet, and the guys that are injured I've taken into consideration here, but like, if Dylan Harper were to come out tomorrow and be like, hey, I don't actually have Achilles anymore, I just have 2 rubber bands, I'd be like, okay, that changes things, but as of right now, this is going off all the information I have. This isn't going off need, this isn't going off fit, this isn't going off, like, who I think would best fit with teams. This is just purely who I have in order of, like, how much I like them. So, let's get started. Number 1, and this is going to come as no shock to anyone, really. Like, if you're surprised by this, it's sort of on you. Number 1, I have Bogoljo Markovic. No, I'm just kidding. Cooper Flag, of course. Really not a ton to say about him. Like, he's just good at everything, man. He's just really good at everything. And he's going to Dallas. What, he should have gone to us? Yeah, like, I would be shocked if he doesn't end up being a top 5 player in the league. Like, barring injuries, he's going to be special. He's going to be nuts. Think Jason Tatum, but talented defensively and more consistent offensively. Jason Tatum's a fine defender, but anyways, Dylan Harper. Now, Dylan Harper is a guy who recently has been getting some mixed reviews, especially as the Spurs are likely to draft him, and the Spurs also have a lot of guards. Now, I don't think you worry about drafting over Stephon Castle. It's been on record that I am not a big Stephon Castle guy. In fact, I don't think he's very good. But I think him and Harper can work together. I think him and Fox makes some sense, but ultimately, I think you still draft him, as I think he has a better upside than both of those guys. Do you work on trading Fox? Maybe. Do you work on trading Castle? Maybe. But I think, nonetheless, you draft Harper. Harper is a great overall player with some pretty dang good measurements. 6'5" with shoes, and he has a 6'10" wingspan. I do have him a tier down from Flag, of course, but I do have him a tier up from everyone else. He is absurd at getting to the rim. 65% from there. If you don't realize how insane that is, that's like, that would be good for a center. In the NBA, Harper did that as a guard in college with bad spacing and nobody to set picks for him. He's good. He's really, really good. There's some people who are worried about his 3. I don't know if that's much of an issue. I mean, most guys tend to shoot pretty poorly from 3. And I think even if he is a 35% three-point shooter, which he's 33 now, I think he can be totally fine. My biggest worry for him is his pull-up game. Obviously, Harper's best at going to the rim, hence the 65%. But I think he needs some sort of pull-up game in order to optimize his skills. I think Harper can be a really good player without it, but I think in order to be great, I think you need a pull-up. There's too many guys who are solid rim protectors, who are just plotting dudes down low, who can just kill you in drop coverage if you can't shoot. Harper either needs some sort of push shot, some sort of pull-up shot, be it from mid-range, be it from 3. Like, he needs the ability to have guys worried about him. If he has, Jonas Valanciunas stepping up on him, then he's going to cook. But if he has Jonas Valanciunas just stuck down in the paint, he might struggle a little bit. I think Carpe's going to take a little bit more time than I think even Spurs fans want to admit, but I think he's really, really dang good. Defensively, he's meh, but he had a huge offensive role at Rutgers, and he has the size to do it. So, next I have Trey Johnson. I don't love putting him here, but I don't think I would love anybody here, honestly. Trey is a guy that terrifies and excites me at the same time. He gets me flaccid and woo at the same time. He's a guy that I have notoriously hated his archetype in the past. I didn't like Benedict Mathurin. I didn't like David Roddy. I didn't like Jalen Green. Much better shooter than... Anyways, you get my point. Smaller, skinnier scoring guards, I didn't love, and I never really have. But the upside with him is there. It really is. I'm sorry, it is. He has the potential to be one of the better shot makers in the league. Some of the shots he hit on that Texas team were fucking absurd. Go watch that guy's highlight reel. He's insane. One of the best perimeter shot makers I've seen in a while in college. Now, the floors are there, and it's low, but I mean, the vision is there with Trey. He showed some passing upside. Very rarely does he make high-level reads, but I think he can just make totally fine reads, which a lot of guys with his skill set can't. Part of that's because he didn't get to the rim a ton and oftentimes struggled when he did, which is another concern I have. He's smaller, but he's also pretty big. He's, I think, 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan. Like, he's a big dude, but he struggles to get to the rim, and he struggles to finish when there. I think part of that is just college spacing sucking. Nobody's really great at the rim, with the exception of Dylan Harper, who is just Shaq at the rim, apparently. Part of that's college spacing, which is terrible. Texas didn't have any sort of great spacing big or just great spacers as a whole. But I also think part of that's strength, and I think that is something he needs to work on. But I think with decent NBA spacing, I think he can be a very good driving kick player. I think he's shown the ability to get to the rim if he can just work on getting through some contact. But, yeah, I like him. I have an issue with his shot selection, especially once he gets to the rim. His efficiency there was not good. Like, when he got to the rim, it wasn't great. A lot of his shit just got sent flying, or he just never took them because he could never get there. But, I think it ends up being less of an issue in the NBA. But for a guy of his size, you wish he got there more, and you wish he finished better. He's rough defensively, but he also has the size to be a great defender. Like, he didn't really show anything defensively, but he also had one of the highest usage rates in all of college basketball. Ultimately, I think the ceiling is absurdly high with him, that I think you take him even with his flaws and the floor being so low. I think he can be a top 15, 20 player in the league pretty easily if he hits. I mean, think about it. A guy who shot 40% from three on, I think, 8 attempts per game. A guy who has shown he can dribble, pass, and shoot at a pretty decent level. A guy who has shown he can score, and he can do it well. If he hits, I think he's going to be just an absolute demon, honestly. Number 4, I have Concanible. This is probably my most controversial ranking. I understand for many this would be considered absurdly high. But I mean, I disagree very clearly having him here. The biggest concern for me and others is his arm length and lack of athleticism. And I get that. I get those concerns. I really do. But to me, he's shown more than enough in so many aspects of the game that I don't know if it matters a ton. That I don't know if it matters a ton. Now, look, Con could very easily be a guy who's just like an elite overseas player or an elite college player or somebody who just thrives only in the right system. But I do think he has potential for much more than that. Con, to me, has some pretty substantial creation upside, despite not being able to show it a ton. Had a good point guard, had Cooper Flag, just a great team around him. But when Cooper Flag was out, he showed a lot of passing prowess. Oftentimes when Malwash would get lobs, it would be because of a just beautifully thrown pass from Khan. I think he showed a lot of on-ball scoring ability when Flag was out, and I think he can be a totally fine secondary ball handler with some potential to be a 1A type. Creation-wise, I thought he was pretty good at creating advantages for his teammates. Granted, a lot of his teammates were really good, and that may not be the same in the NBA depending on where he goes. But I think he's a big reason why Mal's going to get drafted top 15. He ran pick and rolls beautifully with Mal, especially for somebody who is not considered much of a creator or ball handler. He almost always made the right reads on his drives. He does have some potential to become a solid on-ball creator. I do think to do that, he needs to work on his craftiness at the rim, as he's really just best in sort of limited to 2 feet. And I think he needs to work on his pull-up game as well. But if there's anybody who can do it, it's Khan. That guy's an absurd shooter. That guy's incredibly talented. And by all reports, he works super hard. I think he can be a capable rim finisher. Maybe not a great rim finisher, but he's a smart cutter, smart mover. And look, even if he's not a star, like even if defensive-wise he just completely falls out, like all the effort plays he makes, all of the, flashes he's shown, being a pickpocket, a good guard defender, like even if all that falls out, he's the best shooter in this draft, and I think he's a great connected passer and will be a really, really good role player. Would you be disappointed if you got a really good role player at 4? Of course. But I think he's at least a Desmond Bane type. That's who he's been comped to, and I think it's honestly fair. I think he's a Desmond Bane type, but with more creation. At number 5, we have Ace Bailey. I understand the skepticism around Ace, but he's one of those guys where I think you just go for it anyways. He has the potential to be a really good shot maker and defender. The issue is he's not 6'10", as we were told he's 6'8". Still huge, still really good, but not as good. Like, not nearly as unique. If you believe in the league runs off outliers thing, then he's not really as much of an outlier, but I think he's really good, honestly. A lot of his efficiency fell off towards the end of the year. He ended the year at about 45% and 35% from 3. He can't create for himself really at all. He really needs to work on his handle. He needs to put on some weight to help with his drives. And then I think he needs to work on really just getting to the, really anything other than spotting up and pulling up. I think he can make very basic drives, but he needs to work on his cuts. He needs to work on his screen and rolls, like pick and pops, especially for his size. But again, if all those hit, he's going to be good. Defensively, he did fall off a little bit towards the end of the year, but his usage was just absurdly high. And that Rutgers team just wasn't very good at all. As conference play started, as he started playing better teams, his usage went up. His defensive role went down because his usage went up. I think those tend to go hand in hand. So I'm not too worried about his defense. I think he's going to be really good. I think at the worst, he's going to be a good movement shooter. I think he's going to be a good rim protector. And I think he has potential to be a good help side defender. I think his ceiling, ultimately, is as high as he wants it to be. VJ Edgecombe, I have at 6. This is a controversial one because I've seen some people have him as high up as 3. I've seen some people have him up at 2, but I mean, they are what we call crackheads, potheads, meth heads, any, insert drug with head after that, and that accurately represents them. VJ is a guy that I like, but not at top 5 value. People comp him to Victor Oladipo, Eddie Jones, or Dwayne Wade, which, I mean, in fairness, I've seen a lot more recently for athletic guards who can just pass, shoot a little bit. And while I get that, all of those guys that I mentioned had one thing in common. They all had an ability to create for themselves. Sorry, I'm stuttering a bit. I'm tired. Long day. It's 11:30. Got up at 7. Well, VJ just can't. I understand the hype with VJ, but what scares me with him is he can do the hard things well, but he does the fundamental things very poorly. I think he can become a great spot-up shooter. I think he can easily guard 1 through 3 at a pretty dang good level. I think he can be a smart cutter with some minor creation ability. And those are all really good attributes for a player to have. The issue is he can't dribble. For his athleticism, he just has an okay first step. He's smaller frame-wise. He can't pull up or pass out the dribble. And despite being a great athlete with highlight dunks, he can't finish. To me, you sort of need all of those things, if not most of those things, to be a unique number 1 or number 2 creator. I think he needs to get pretty close to good on all of those things, and I just don't see that happening. I try and look at these things in broad strokes, like guys' ability to dribble, shoot, pull up, drive, and pass, efficiency, defense, and athleticism, and I think those are all key things to becoming a star. And VJ is a guy I think you can't miss on, but I sort of doubt his potential in a lot of those things I mentioned. I doubt his potential for more. Number 7, I have Kamon Malawach. I'd like to start off with his height. Kamon Malawach is 7'1" with a 7'7" wingspan, a 30-inch vertical, and a 9'6" standing reach. For context, Clint Capela's is 30, DeAndre Jordan's is 34, Mason Plumlee's is somehow 40, or was. My family's playing Roblox. Now look, I know what you're thinking. This feels high for a theoretical toolsy big. And you could be right. You really could. But for there's something, Kamon Malawach, not Con Knipple. For there's something really interesting to him about me. I think his defensive ability is not discussed nearly enough. Those rim contestant blocks weren't absurd. Often that improves with understanding of the game. I do understand blocks go down with age, but rim protection often goes up as you get towards your prime, or you become more accustomed to the game. Now you're probably thinking, why do you have Kamon at big? Just at 7, a toolsy big who doesn't understand the game well. And I really disagree with that sentiment. I've heard that before, and I disagree with that sentiment. For how long he's played, he understands the game really freaking well. He's only been playing basketball since he was like 14, 15. And he's, I think, 18 or 19 now. But he's almost always in the correct defensive position. He makes high IQ defensive reads. Basically always. He's almost always in correct rebounding position. And those are all things that theoretically should only improve with time. I understand it's concerning that a guy who played basketball for such a short amount of time is going number 7. But he was one of the best players in the NBA Outreach or Worldwide African Outreach program, and he was the starting center for the best team in the country. I also should notice, I didn't list this down. Duke's centers tend to not have the biggest, defensive rim protection role. Often, like this year especially, it was Flag who did it a lot. And, speaking of rim protection, he averaged a bit over a block per night, I think about 1.2, but that was in 22 minutes a night, and again, with that lower rim contest percentage. His per 36, I think, was like 2.6 or something. Like, something really solid. I think Kamon, though, pretty raw, has the potential to be an elite rim protector who can maybe step up, guard some 3s and 4s. I think his mobility is pretty solid. And he also might be able to shoot 3s while playing defense like Rudy Gobert. Am I overdoing his hype? Maybe a bit, but I like Kamon. But with this pick, you got me. All right, you got me. I'm taking a toolsy wing. I know. I got made fun of for taking Tijon Chalon, I think 6 last year. Which I actually think that might have been where he was drafted. No, I think I had him 4. But look, sue me. I like some toolsy wings, okay? They need to be absurdly toolsy wings, but I like him. And Noah has those tools that are absurd. I understand the fear of Horatio Farm duping us again, but I think Noah's the real deal. Horatio Farm is where Killian Hayes came from. Sorry. Now, to mention some of those tools, he is 6'10" without shoes. He's 203 pounds, which a little bit concerning. You want him to be a bit bigger weight-wise. But he has a 7-foot wingspan with a 9'2" standing reach. Mobile as hell. I think his vertical is like 36 or 37. Tell me those aren't interesting tools. There's basically no aspect of defense that I think he's bad at. He's good at everything, and his only defensively, I should say. He's pretty dang good at everything, and is only improved with time. He's young. He's the youngest player in the draft at 18. And again, only improved with time. Horatio Farm is a real team who, again, does sometimes inflate their guys by putting him in like the best positions possible to get drafted. Just, it's a whole rabbit hole, but I think Noah SNK can be really good. Noah is elite in transition, which is something you don't see a ton for guys at his size. He's got really dang good burst. He can make quick reads in the fast break. He has footworks to get around slower bigs in the fast break and in quicker half-court possessions. He can dive to the bucket in half-court and in fast break situations. He gets to the line at a ridiculous rate, and he showed in flashes of a solid handle as he's able to push the pace, make some, outlet passes, like, great in transition, which is something you don't see a ton for young guys or guys his size. Now, the issues with Noah can be pretty concerning depending on if you consider them issues. Again, youngest player in the draft and only improved at Horatio Farm. But he struggles at basically anything in the half court. It's sort of odd at how good he is in the fast break and how poor he is in like the half court situations. He's very small weight-wise, which again, concerning, but something that's fixable. It does really affect him offensively as he struggles to post up some smaller guys, and it knocks him off his drives and spots very easily, especially when posting up. Actually, he's a pretty, for a small size, he's pretty good at posting up bigger defenders, now that I think of it. He does really struggle whenever he ends up under the rim, which is concerning, as, oftentimes that's where you get offensive rebounds, that's where you get defensive rebounds, and then he can just very easily get pushed off his spot or just smothered by a bigger defender or opponent. He's not a great screener or a lob finisher. I think he has the athleticism to do so, but again, a lot of that's just weight-based. He needs shooting and potentially does need shooting off the bounce if neither of those hit. He has a good handle, but again, you need shooting for that to really show it off. When he gets to the rim, he's fine, but again, he just can't get to the rim, which I think shooting would help. But I also think you need. Kasparas Jakuchonis, I have at 9. Kasparas is a big guard who has shown some creation ability. Oh, I should say, Noah's a pretty dang good passer, too. Kasparas, big guard, shown some creation flashes in terms of his shot and playmaking. And I think at the very least, he can be a just totally fine backup lead guard. The issue is, he can't get separation at all. Like, I criticize Trey Johnson for not getting separation. Kasparas just can't get it at all. Like, that guy has somebody on his hip at all time. For his size, you'd hope he could get to the rim a bit more, get some separation on his drives, but he really can't. He can't really get effectively to the rim, so I do think he needs some sort of pull-up game to give him a chance. He's really good at step backs, but that's sort of it, and to be an effective driver, I think he needs either a good catch and shoot, or a good shot off the catch and shoot, or a good pull-up game, which he shot low 30s and low 20s on. Catch and shoot to attack off closeouts. Some of that could be his forearm injury, the aforementioned percentages. He had it in the middle of the season, played through it, but again, his lack of shot creation just scares me. He's not great defensively, but again, large offensive role in Illinois, really the only creator quality player on that team. So, sorry. But no, large offensive role, again, oftentimes leads to just mediocre defensive ability. I think if his offensive role goes down, I think he can be a totally fine defender. Showed some flashes, but he's a guy where it is an upside swing, and I think the upside's pretty high, and I think the floor's pretty high as well. At 10, I have Derek Queen, and Derek Queen is a guy I have no fucking clue about. I worry a lot about his work ethics as he struggled on basically every effort aspect on both sides of the floor. He showed up overweight to the combine, and he almost never runs. Like, watch his footage. When he does run, he's pretty quick, but he almost never does. That guy is a plodder. But he was one of the best scorers, or post scorers in all of college basketball. He was able to put up better playmaking numbers than Jeremiah Fears. Queen is a guy that I just don't know about, honestly. Like, he's just such a unique player. Great post player, bad defender. Great passer, but a questionable shooter. Queen, to me, is best next to a rim protector, meaning he'd likely have to play at the 4, but he's not super mobile. He's not super athletic. I don't think he's big or strong enough to guard 5s, and I don't think he has the vertical to catch lobs. I worry a lot about him, but I think the ceiling with him is a Demonis Sabonis, off-range and goon type, which I think can be really good. Like, I think at number 10, you take that swing. This is another hot take I have. I have Igor Demin at 11. In fact, even on my notes, I listed Igor as a controversial prospect, to say the least. Coming into the season, he was ranked incredibly high as a recruit and was considered to be a top 5 pick coming into the year. Then he got to BYU and basically played like Ben Simmons, but with a little bit of shooting. Very rarely did he go inside the 3-point line at all, like Ben Simmons. Again, you're probably thinking, Owen, why do you have him at 11 then? Fair question, dear viewer. For one, he's 6'9". He's taller than Ace Bailey. He is 6'9" and the best passer in the class. He is for sure a swing pick, but he has a 6'10" wingspan with a 9-foot standing reach. What? I'm sorry. What? He's a tools guy for me. He's a good tools guy. If he hits, he's going to be insane. Probably won't hit, admittedly, but he's a guy where his ceiling's high enough, you just got to take it. I don't know in the NBA if he'll be ever given lead guard opportunities just because his shot creation is so poor. But even if he isn't, he did show some defensive ability to guard wings and guards. And if he hits, he could very well be a top 3 player from this class or a top 20, 25 player in the league. It's a big if, but very rarely do you see 6'9" players who have the passing ability he does. Another controversial one I have here is Jace Richardson at 12. Jace is a controversial player, not due to lack of talent, lack of upside, but it's because he's only 6'1". There's some questions about his playmaking ability, and most of the questions surrounding Jace are pretty fair. If he can't create, he's likely a bench guard who doesn't ever end up getting more than 20 minutes a night. But what if he could play make? He did quietly show some passing ability at Michigan State. That they did have some good players there, some good guards. So his assists are low, but his playmaking percentage is also pretty low. He showed he has a great feel for the game. He has arguably the best first step in the class, and he has one of the better shots in the class as well. Jace could very well be too small to do anything on either side of the ball, but very rarely do you see a guy with his feel and knowledge for the game and his shot-making ability. Another guy I have that's controversial is Colin Murray Boyles. And it's not controversial per se that I have him at 13. If anything, some people have him higher, some people have him much lower. It's controversial because there is no consensus on where this guy is going. I myself am unsure about him. I don't love him at 13. By all reports, most executives are sort of split on him as well. But Colin is an elite defender who I think could potentially defend 1 through 5, or at the very least 3 through 5 at an elite level. Colin's a great rebounder, sort of it offensively. He had decent scoring numbers, but it was against pretty poor competition, and he only shot when he was wide open at the rim. He showed a little bit of connecting passing ability, and I think he might be able to post up smaller players. Regular power forward length, 6'9", 7'1" wingspan with an 8'10" standing reach, which 8'10" reach is really good. He needs to work on his shooting and or post play and playmaking, otherwise he's just super Matisse Thybulle, which is a good player, but by no means worth a lottery pick. I don't have a ton to say on Colin just because it's kind of clear what he needs. He just needs offense, honestly. If he can become a decent shooter, further improve on his already great defense, improve some of those reads in the passing game that I talked about. I think he can be Aaron Gordon-esque with less athleticism but better defense. At number 14, I have our boy, Danny Wolf. I say our boy, I have no connection to him. I truly could care less where he goes. This is just purely where I think he should go. Danny Wolf is 7 foot and basically played point guard for his team. I'm sort of kidding, but not really. He showed a lot of juice as a potential shooter and an on-ball creator. He showed an ability to be a connected passer, if not just an outright creator. He by no means did that at an elite level, but it was something I kind of considered interesting. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's a solid finisher. He showed some shooting ability, shooting about 35% on 3 threes per game, which for a center in college is pretty good. I think at worst he has the ability to be a great bench big who can bring some instant offense and spacing with potential to be like a Şengün Light. Thomas Sorber I have at 15, and he is a guy I adore. This is my guy. Sorber is a guy that I fell in love with as soon as I saw him play. That's my first note. Not super athletic, but he's got great length, 6'9" without shoes, 7'6" wingspan, and a 9'1" standing reach. And with the exception to his height, which at this time in the league is totally fine, all of those are elite. He doesn't have crazy athleticism, but he still averaged absurd stock numbers, 2 steals and 2 blocks a game, while holding guys to 57% of the rim, which is one of the better numbers in college basketball. I think he's mobile enough to guard at least 4 through 5 and maybe 3 through 5. Sorber is an elite post finisher and has shown some flashes of being pretty good at a face-up game. He's shown the ability to be a pretty solid connected passer. He needs to work on making the right reads more often, but he's on the higher end of center passing scale in the draft. I think he's a better passer than Danny Wolf. And I think he could very easily be a sort of Karl Anthony Towns type passer. Not an elite passer, can maybe create a bit passing-wise, but can be an elite connected passer for their size. Sorber, really good at both offensive and defensive reads. Very rarely did I see Sorber in an incorrect spot on either side of the floor, and his reads really shone through on his pick-and-roll defense. He often used his size just to outright deny the handler, the rolling big, or he just used his huge size to steal passes. Like, you cannot throw a lob pass around that guy or an entry pass. I wish Sorber was a bit more mobile and a bit more athletic, seeing as he is undersized. He did struggle at times with perimeter defense. Again, you wish he was a bit more mobile. But I do think some of that's due to bad team defense, meaning Sorber had to try and recover up for his guys' messes. And I also think he's mobile enough to guard on the perimeter. He just has a very weird defensive stance that I think any good coach could fix. Not a great lob threat, but he shows some athletic prowess. He's an elite post finisher. I think he can be a great PNR player, but you'd wish for a little bit more athleticism. I think Sorber can be a totally fine starting center to borderline Ulster. 16, I have Jeremiah Fierce, and I really wanted to put him late into the first as I don't understand the hype around him at all. He's a smaller guard, 6'3" and a half without shoes, which is fine, but the biggest issue is 180 pounds. He can't pass, 4 assists, okay, 4 turnovers. Most of his assists were due to a lot of his physical prowess. He's pretty quick, pretty strong, but not uniquely quick or strong, which doesn't really translate to the NBA. I forgot a comma there. He can't shoot really at all. He shot 40% from the field and 28% from 3. He can't finish. He shot 52% at the rim. He's an okay defender, and he got to the line at an okay rate, but that's sort of it. The argument I've seen for him is he's young, quick, and has good stamina, and was decently successful at a good school. I'm just not terribly convinced. Next, I have Carter Bryant at 17. Due to his elite measurables, 6'7", 214, 7-foot wingspan. And 8'10" standing reach. Some of the flashes he showed on defense were ridiculous. Go look at his highlights, and it looks like he has the opponent's playbook and rocket shoes with his anticipation and athleticism. The biggest concern for me and why I am fairly lower on him is his lack of consistency and his lack of proven ability. Brian is a great tools guy, but he hasn't really shown much else. He only played 21 minutes a game on an Arizona team that had a very weak wing rotation. He shot 37% from three, but he only took 105 attempts for the season. The most interesting thing, again, is his defense. His per 36 numbers are pretty good. He averaged 2 steals and 2 blocks per game. The issue for him is he needs to be more consistent on defense and he either needs to bulk up or improve his lateral movement so he can guard smaller guards or adequately guard wings. I really like Bryant. I don't necessarily get the top 10 hype. A lot of it seems to be workout and interview-based, which unfortunately I don't have access to. But I could totally look back and move him up to the top 10. And that's the same with this guy, Cedric Howard. Coward is sort of an unknown. Coward at Eastern Washington dominated even as a semi-young player, which you do like to see for a younger guy against quality competition. Semi-quality competition. I think I write earlier, or excuse me, later that I just outright disliked the competition he played against. I would have had a much higher, but he only played 6 games this year at a much higher quality school, and the games he did play in were sort of disappointing. I could be totally wrong in having him this low. I've liked him for the past couple years now, but again, we really just don't know what he is fully in like a more competitive sense. He's shown some flashes of on-ball creation, but he played against mediocre at best competition. He's shown flashes of shooting about 38% for his college career. But again, his volume was limited, and he played against mediocre competition. This year specifically, his volume was limited. We've seen pretty good defensive prowess from him, but he sort of struggled this year when he did play against, again, quality competition. Take a shot. If Thomas played 15 games this year at the way he was playing, I think I would probably have him top 10, no problem. My biggest concern is he was dominating poor competition at an older age. He's a senior currently, which could mean he's more game ready, but it also could mean he was just dominating kids again. But I just need to see more before I can say anything definitive. 19, I have Rasheer Fleming. Rasheer has ridiculous measurables. 6'9", 230 pounds. Nothing insane. 7'5" wingspan with a 9'2" standing reach. Yeah. Rasheer to me comes very well to John Collins if he played defense. If John Collins played defense, I should say. This year, killed it defensively. 1.5 steals and blocks per game. Actually, I think it was like 1.5 for both, weirdly. Killed it offensively. 1.5 points, 1.3 assists. Not great, but wasn't asked to do a ton passing-wise. 9 rebounds and 39% from 3. The biggest concern I and many others have with him is his age and quality of competition. St. John's is by no means a great basketball school. And we see this all the time with bigger and older players who play in pretty bad conferences. They dominate once they get older because they're playing against smaller kids who aren't that good. He was totally fine before. He was a fine player before, but in 4 more minutes this year, he jumped up 6 points, 1 rebound, 1 steal, 7% from 3, and 13% from the free throw line. All of those could be real. I don't know if the percentages are real, and I think if he isn't a great 3-point shooter, I don't think he's a first-round prospect. I hope those numbers are real. I just don't know if Fleming dominating against weak competition translates well to the league. Next, I have Maxime Reynaud. I don't have a ton to say about him. Basically, just a backup center with upside for a bit more. He can shoot it at a pretty dang good level. He can post up. He can rebound. He can pass. His biggest concerns are defense. Think Kyle Filipowski. 21, I have Joanne Beringer. He's a guy that's sort of interesting to me. He's a very explosive big man. Toolsy fella, I know. Some solid long-term upside. Pretty big, 6'10", 7'3" wingspan, which for a little bit longer with a guy that height. Fairly athletic, consistent energy, high motor. Pretty good defensively, not great, but he's fairly mobile, light on his feet, can rotate and recover pretty well. I think his defensive versatility is a little bit overrated, but again, pretty good. Defensively, great. Very good lob threat. But the issue is, overall, just very limited offensively. I think he's just a totally fine player. I think a good comp for him is Eve Missy. I think he does have the upside for some more creation, but ultimately, like, even if he doesn't, he's going to be a great defensive center, a good pick and roll player, which is always going to be valuable in the league. So yeah, peace.